Please be seated. The court is now back in session. We will now continue to hear the statements of suffering by the civil party Cheng Lee through a video link from France. Hello, Madam Cheng Lee. Cheng Lee. Hello, Mr. President. President, the video link has now been re-established. And before I hand the floor to you, we would like to remind you of one point. Please speak slowly so that the interpreter can properly interpret your statement into English and French simultaneously. And before you respond to the questions put to you, please listen to the questions carefully and observe a slight pause so that your voice will go through the system properly. And lastly, please start your statement again. And you may state what you encountered, the hardship or the harms inflicted upon you during the democratic Cambodia regime, that is from the 17th April 1975 to the 6th of January 1979. You may state all your experience under the democratic Cambodia regime, and you may now proceed. Civil party. First of all, I am thankful to Mr. President and Your Honors for giving me this opportunity. It has been over 30 years that I cannot forget what happened under the Khmer Rouge regime. The mistreatment on more than 2 million Cambodian people, including myself. On the 17th April 1975, the situation and the cruelty at the time cannot be described in words, and it was beyond anybody's expectation. And they hacked away of a baby who was still breastfeeding, and that happened in front of me, and it was committed by the Khmer Rouge soldiers. How could you bear the witness to such an event? While en route, I saw a lot of people who died along the road. I was living in Phnom Penh along National Road number 1, and along the river I saw floating corpses, and that shocked me. I continued from Kin Swai, crossing the river in an attempt to go to Battambang province, which was the native place of my parents. But we could not reach the destination as my parents were sick and my siblings' bodies were swollen from malnutrition. We did not have anything with us except the clothes that we wore. 2 or 3 weeks after the 17th April 1975, money was still used, and we spent some money to buy something to eat. But later on, it could not be used, and we were placed in a cooperative. We lived with the deprivation of food. And we were only giving a ration, and the word ration there, it means everybody would be given the same thing, and that only applied for the new people. And the new people means the 17th April people who were from Phnom Penh, and the old or the best people were those who were living at their villages. We were given 3 ladles of watery gruels, only with a few grains of husk rice and a little bit of salt. I never want to recount such an experience. The experience that we faced, and that the new people faced, and I can never forget that. Our freedom was deprived. We were not allowed to cry, to laugh, or to speak. At 5 a.m. we were asked to work until noon, and then we were given 3 ladles of gruel. We worked again, and in late evening we were given another 3 ladles, and then we worked again until about 10 or 11. But I was not sure of the hours, as we did not have any watch to look at. And the work was hard. We worked during the night, and there was no light. Sometimes we stumbled and fell down. We did not have any shoes to wear, and we only have one black clothes that we wore. And when we were sick, there was no medical treatment or medicine provided. And if one was seriously ill, that person would be given a rabbit drop pellet. It could be a mixture of some rice and some other stuff, which was a bit sweet. Could you imagine living without freedom? I carried a basket of rice or corn on my head, and at that time I was about 21 years old. And of course I was still at the age that I could still grow taller, but with such a weight on my body, I could not grow any taller. And that was the impact of carrying heavy things from that regime. I lived with a friend. I said a friend, but that person was someone also who left Phnom Penh. She said that she was thinking of the 2 younger siblings, that she did not know where they were. And just by saying that phrase, next early morning, 2 black-clad soldiers came to us and called the 2 of us to walk across the rice field. And when we reached a location, but I cannot recall it, and they asked that person, and her name was Mui, to dig a pit of about her size. And imagine that we did not have sufficient food to eat, and she had to dig the pit. And because of the exhaustion, she could not continue digging the pit. the two Khmer Rouge asked her whether she already finished digging the pit. And then they pushed her into the pit and buried her alive. And they said that now we send you to meet with your relatives. I don't want to cry now, but when I recall it, it seems to be vivid in front of my eyes. She was buried alive. And the two soldiers said to me, now you see what happened, now you return to work. I did not dare to cry. If I cry, I would be killed by the two soldiers. I tried not to cry. Then I came back to carry husk rice on my head again. I tried to survive and tried to be humble to them. When I returned to my workplace, I did not dare tell anyone there. I was so shocked by seeing that friend buried alive. Later on, I became unconscious, and then I was pulled to the side, and they tried to massage me to wake me up. Upon gaining my consciousness, I did not even dare to tell them what happened. And when I was unconscious, a medic came with some kind of a Fanta bottle fluid. They were about to inject me. I gained consciousness, and I told the medic that it's okay, there is no need for the injection. And of course, I regained my consciousness based on my mental strength. Every few days, I kept falling down because of the overexhaustion. Sometimes I thought of committing myself by jumping into the river because we work on the riverbank. Because I thought that living in this situation was meaningless. I could not even cry. I could not do anything. The food was insufficient. I did not have any strength. When I went up or climbed up a ladder, I had to climb up not only with my 2 feet, but also with my 2 hands. I was so weak. My mother at the time was staying with me, and if I were to die, nobody would look after her. Because for the porridge that was given to me, I tried to put either grass or morning glory with mixed with a bit of salt into it, and I gave it to her. And because of my mother, I decided not to commit suicide by jumping into the river. I, once again, cannot forget what happened under the Khmer Rouge regime. I abandoned my study, and in fact, I determined to leave so that I could see what happened next. And to see how far would that Khmer Rouge regime rather go. What they did by killing millions of people were miserable. There was no hygiene, no clothing, no medicine, everybody got lice all over the body and skin wounds. I wish now to end my statement, and I may respond to any questions that are put to me, but allow me to repeat that because of the living through the regime, the result is terrible and it still remains with me. And the experience remains with me forever. I could not see anything that is bloody on the TV or on anything. I became so scared. Even in my capacity as a pharmacist, I never dare look at a blood. Because whenever there is a patient who comes and has to deal with the blood, I would ask the other staff to do it. And for any movie that deals with the killing of people, I would avoid it. And I become so shocked when there is a loud noise or a loud bang or a loud group of people. Even with my husband, I cannot stand if he speaks loudly, because then it would give me a shock. And these are all the results of my experience living under the regime.
The President, thank you, Madam Ellie. Now I hand over the floor to the defense, to the civil party lawyer to put the question to the civil party. You may proceed, Counsel.
Bonjour, Monsieur le Président.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Your Honours. Good afternoon to everybody present in the courtroom, and good afternoon to the witness. Do you hear me?
Oui, apparemment. Eng Sheng.
Mrs. Eng Cheng, I know it's very difficult for you to bring back to your consciousness this whole period of democratic Kampuchea. Do you think you could tell the chamber about the circumstances in which you saw that baby being killed as you were leaving Phnom Penh?
I told the court earlier that when we were leaving Phnom Penh and we were traveling along National Road number 1, crossing Monivong Bridge, I saw a crying baby. He was actually crawling over the dead body of his mom. I wanted to carry that baby. I wanted to take the baby. From the time when I wanted to carry the baby, and the soldier carried this baby was so brief that I could not actually do anything. But of all a sudden, when the soldier carried this baby, they just tore the baby apart. It was a very horrifying scene. I could not imagine any human being who would do that. This was horrifying indeed. Actually, the baby was crying. He was crying because he was very hungry. He did not have any milk to drink. He was crawling on the dead body. I did not want to take this baby because I was also afraid of my own safety. So I did not say anything. I just went on walking.
Merci.
Thank you for that answer. When you reached the cooperative, what was the first thing you saw?
My apology, I could not really get the entire question you asked. You mean when I first got to the cooperatives or when I was working in the cooperative?
Oui.
No, when you first reached the cooperative and you saw these lines of people who apparently had rebelled, could you tell us what you were referring to?
Well, when I reached the cooperative, it was on the second day. It was in the evening. I cannot recall the exact time, but people who came from Phnom Penh, they gathered and they talked to each other that they would plan a protest, a rebellion against the authority. They wanted to go back to Phnom Penh so that they would have enough food to eat and they would be able to use the bank note as they used to do. So at that time, a group of them was initiating the plot to protest. There were around 20 or 20 plus of these men. Actually, they did not use a rope, but they used a thread. Uh, they actually carry this. Actually, they were frog marched by the Khmer Rouge soldier later, using only a small piece of thread, tied up to their hand. And then the Khmer Rouge soldiers threatened them with a gunshot if they would ever protest. You could imagine the situation back then. They only tied them up with only a small piece of thread string to their hand, and they frog marched them out. I did not know where these people were heading for, but I could only assume that they were all executed afterwards. And then when I reached Rakakau, I noticed at that time that there were 4 families who were gathered there. My family was one of them, and among these 4 families, there was one young boy. He disappeared. He was probably frog marched with this group of men as well, and he never returned. So we could not imagine anything, but we could only thought to ourselves, think to ourselves that these people would be killed then.
Merci pour
Thank you for that answer. Can you tell the court what the impact of seeing that scene was on you?
When I saw them frog march these men out, I was horrified. And I thought to myself that something must have gone wrong and nothing would ever return to normal. To put it simply, these people would not be able to return to their place, or they could not return to the place where they came from. And I also thought to myself that there would be execution and the deprivation of freedom. They actually tied those men up together with only a piece of thread, and this was a manifestation of the dictatorship and the cruelty of this regime. And
Merci.
Thank you very much. When you were in the cooperative, you said that the working conditions were deplorable. What sort of relations did the head of your unit have with you?
our living condition at that times were described in three categories. Those who were in the senior age, middle age, and youth or the younger age. I was in the middle age category at that time. There were around 20 members of us with one unit chief. Can I go on?
Oui. Ce chef
Yes, but that unit chief, was he kind and considerate towards you?
No, he was not kind. She was of a murderer nature. She was cruel. She was aggressive. Whatever order she put down was very harsh. She did not speak to us politely. Whenever she addressed us, she would accuse us of being the 17 April people. She used vulgar language against us. It was not the tradition of Cambodia who address each other by this disgusting language. We normally address each other politely, particularly for Cambodian women. I consider the unit chief was a cruel person. The words of the devil or the words of the ghost.
Donc, si je comprends bien,
So, if I'm following you correctly, what you're saying is that your membership of the new people earned you daily insults from the unit chief. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. That is correct. Every day we were insulted.
vous nous avez dit également.
You also told us that one morning at dawn you were present at the murder of your teacher friend who was buried alive before your eyes. Can you tell the court about the consequences of that scene right up to the very day on you yourself?
Upon witnessing the buried of that friend, I knew that she did not commit any mistake, any serious wrongdoing at all. She only said that she did not know the fate of her two siblings. So I witnessed this lady being buried alive. And I had never seen at all in the history of people burying other people alive. Upon seeing this horrifying scene, I became exhausted and I could not do anything. I witnessed that, but I could not express it in words. That made the situation even worse because I had this painful scene that I had come across, and then I could not even speak it out. This was very serious. I dare not tell anyone about the scene I witnessed. If I risk my life telling other people about this, then of course my life would be in great danger. So I dare not say anything at that time. Under these regimes, I were not allowed to cry, I were not allowed to smile.
Aujourd'hui, Cheng, vous vivez en France.
For a good many years, you have now been living in France. Can you tell us if you still suffer from physical and psychological sequelae of what happened during the years of democratic Kampuchea regime?
The President. Council, please be advised that the internet connection is not functioning now. We need to observe a little pause until the system is back.
Yes, it's good for me.
The President, you may resume now, Council.
Merci.
Thank you, Mr. President. My last question to you. Now, Madam, you live in France and you've been living there for quite a few years. Can you tell the court what the outcome and sequelae are of everything you went through during the democratic Kampuchea regime?
Are you talking about the psychological or physical impact? If you talk about impacts, of course, I have a sustained suffering. I have been affected both physically and psychologically. I had to work very hard at that times when I was very young, so it bear a big consequence on my physical growth. And as for my mental and psychological impact, it was so severe. I never in my life had I seen any horrifying scene of torturing people, executing people. I had never seen witnessed such a horrifying scene before, and now, as a consequence of this atrocity, I did not want to hear any loud noise or any argument or so. And when people got into accident, I dare not even intervene. It was not because I did not want to intervene, but I still had this traumatic experience that I could not actually get involved in the scene of this sort.
Monsieur le Président,
Mr. President, I have no further questions. In Cheng, thank you very much indeed for testifying. I know that These are very difficult things to call to mind, and I'm very grateful to you for having done so before this court.
The President. Thank you. Now I hand over the floor to the co-prosecutor to put the question to the civil party. You may proceed. Mr. Saint Bun Kieng. Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, my respect to Mr. President and your honors and my fellow colleagues in the courtroom. And good afternoon to the civil party. I am the representative of the prosecution at the Khmer Tribunal. I have only a few questions. I wish to seek your clarification. You told the court earlier that you had traveled, you had left your home and you were heading toward Rakakaung. Could you please tell the court of the event that took place before you left for Rakakaung? What was the reason for you leaving your place to Rakakaung? Could you please describe the event that unfolded before you left for Rakakaung? Response. On the 17th of April 1975, there was a declaration that peace prevailed in Cambodia. And at the time, I saw the black-clad soldier force us to leave our house. I left Phnom Penh. I just went along with others. I did not know where we were heading for. We just went along National Road number 1, we reached Cambodia, and then we crossed the bridge, and then we went further until we ran out of any food reserve. We had with us some cash, some banknotes as well, and just a few weeks after that, banknotes could be used. We buy certain stuff for us to eat as well, and we had some clothes with us, a few clothes with us that we could change along the way. And then I thought to myself that if I continue to stay in Kin Swai, I would end up starving to death. Prosecutor. I am sorry, madam. I would like to interrupt you here. I just would like to make it clear step by step. I would like to know the event that compelled you to leave your home. You said that the black-clad soldiers forcibly evacuated you from your home in Phnom Penh. Could you please tell the court what the condition, what the situation was like at that time when they were forcing you out of your house? Response. When they got there, well, actually, I at that time residing somewhere along near kilometer 6. They forced people to leave, and I had no choice but to leave my house. I reached my aunt's house. And then after that, the soldier forced us to leave our house. We had to comply. They told us at that time that if we did not leave our house, the American bombardment would be imminent. Then we had to leave. So we actually had heard of the bombardment of the Americans. So we had to leave in accordance with the order, because they said that they will bombard the city at that time. Question. When you were leaving the city, how many people were leaving? And about your family, how many of them were leaving? And when you were leaving the city, did you notice that there were elderly or young kids along the street? Response. I left with my 2 brothers and 1 younger brother and an elderly mother. We did not have any small children with us. Question. Can you tell the court about your elderly mother who was forcibly evacuated from Phnom Penh? What was her condition along the road? Response. The elderly people at large, and my mother was no exception to this, they were shocked, and they had no choice but to leave their home because they were actually forced to leave at gunpoint. So they were very shocked indeed. They were actually shocked, but they were experienced people. They had come across many regimes and many administrations, so they were actually very strong in terms of their spirit. So she actually encouraged us to go along as order. Question. When you were marching out of the city, heading for Rakakau, did you observe that there were Khmer Rouge soldiers accompanying you or guarding you along the way? Response. When I took the boat from Kien Svai and then traveled to Rakakau, I saw the black-clad soldier ordering us to move. I did not know where we were heading for exactly at that time, but they simply ordered us to move on, and we had to move on in accordance with their order until we reached Rakakau. Question. Earlier on, you also told the court that when you were along the way, you also saw corpses scattered and floating in the river. Did you observe whether or not these corpses were ordinary people or they were soldiers? Response. Well, it is quite difficult to respond to this question because I did not know whether or not these corpses were ordinary civilians or soldiers, and if they were soldiers, whether or not they were soldiers of the Khmer Rouge or Lon Nol soldier. I did not even have time or chance to look at those dead corpses. And I cannot tell the court whether or not those corpses were soldiers of Lon Nol or Khmer Rouge soldier, and I believe that nobody would bother to identify the identity of the corpses. Thank you, Mr. Prosecutor. Of course, I just would like to know whether or not you know that. If you don't know, that is fine indeed. I move on to my next question. You also told the court earlier that when you reached Rakakau, you were incorporated into a cooperative. And who inducted you into the cooperative? Response. I do not recall who asked me to join the cooperative, but there was announcement along the road that the new people, the 17 April people from Phnom Penh, had to join cooperatives. Those who had any properties, any belongings, they must not hide. They had to surrender those belongings and put them for common use as the property of cooperatives. So they wanted to create a situation, a cooperative where people were equal, nobody is richer than anybody. Prosecutor, thank you, Madam Civil Party. Mr. President, I have no further question, and I thank you, the Civil Party, for participating in the proceeding in pursuit of ascertaining the truth. Thank you.
President, thank you. The floor is now given to Nunchi's defense to put questions to the civil party if you wish to do so.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have no questions.
Thank you. Lastly, the floor is given to Kisampon's defense. Kong Samon. Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of Mr. Kisampon, I do not have any question for the civil party. Thank you. President, thank you. Thank you, Madam Cheng Eng Lee. The hearing of your statement of sufferings, harms, and impact has now concluded. That you may now be excused from the hearing of in this court, and your statement may contribute to ascertaining the truth. And we wish you all the very best. And of course, you may return to your residence. And goodbye, Madam Cheng Eng Lee. Civil Party, yes, goodbye, Mr. President. And of course, I urge the chamber to find justice for the Cambodian people. President, thank you. President, the hearing today has come to a conclusion, and we will resume tomorrow. That is the Thursday, the 30th of May 2013. And for tomorrow, we will hear the testimonies or the statements of suffering and harms and impacts by civil parties during the Democratic Cambodia regime. And we have 4 civil parties for tomorrow. That is TCCP 100, TCCP 149, TCCP 170, and lastly TCCP 117. Security guards were instructed to take the 2 accused back to the detention facility and have them return to the court room tomorrow morning before 9 a.m. As for Noon Jie, take him through the holding cell downstairs, which is equipped with audio-visual communication so that he can participate in the proceeding. The court is now adjourned.